Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my parents' basement, your parents' basement, our parents' basement, and we're back in the basement. It's been a while since we've been down here together. Feels good to be back. Got a cherry vanilla to celebrate the occasion, and a big old stack of Criterions, because it is that time of the year. Twice yearly from Barnes & Noble, we get a 50% off sale on Criterions, which really Blu-ray physical media collectors really take advantage of, really let loose, because one's usually positioned in July, the other in November. Here and there's a Barnes & Noble flash sale for 24 hours, but this is really where we get to let loose and pick up the films that have been kind of hanging on the to-buy list for a while. So without further ado, I've done one of these collection Criterion updates before because I love the Criterion collection. The last one was a couple months back when there's a flash sale on the Criterion site, but now this is from Barnes & Noble itself. The sale lasts for about a month. At the time of recording this, there's about a week and a half left of it. I don't think I'm going to go back. There's a pretty big stack here already, so I think this might be it for this run, but the next one in November I'm looking forward to because there's been a couple of Criterions announced for October that I'm really interested in. History of Violence being at the top of the list, and there's plenty of other ones in the back catalog that I've been meaning to get for a while, and have been pushed around on the list now and again. But without further ado, let's dive in with the first one. But there's just something about this film, the way it's shot, the very painting-esque cinematography, and the beautiful landscapes. Just everything about the way this movie looks is gorgeous. I love the story itself. I love the character of Barry Lyndon. I just love the way this movie's presented. It's 3 hours long, but it's such a breezy 3 hours, and I'm so glad to have this movie. It's got this beautiful little cover top, just an all-around great release. And if you've never seen Barry Lyndon, it is truly a masterpiece of a film. Like I said, my favorite Kubrick film. I just love everything about it. The time period it takes place in, and just the trials and tribulations of the character. It's just a fabulous movie, and I feel like that and Ridley Scott's The Duelists, or is it The Duelists or yeah, it must be The Duelists. But those two movies I think are a great double feature. So if you haven't seen either one of those, check them out. Maybe as a back-to-back viewing, maybe independently, but those are two really great movies. And I hope The Duelists gets a Blu-ray or 4K release sometime soon. Really underrated Ridley Scott film. Next up, we've got Night Moves. This is a Gene Hackman film, directed by Arthur Penn. This is from '75, same year as Barry Lyndon, but it's a neo-noir film where Gene Hackman is playing a private investigator, and this is just a fabulous movie. I love the story about this. In many ways, it is your typical private investigator movie, but in so many other ways, it's not. And I love how this movie doesn't really get bogged down in the mystery per se, because a lot of rewatch value can be lost sometimes in mystery films like that, because once you know the twist, or you know the spin, or you know the mystery, it doesn't have that same impact. But this one doesn't rely so heavily on that. It very much so relies on the characters, and is very reflective of the time period. It does take place in contemporary times to the film being made. And it's a really great Gene Hackman performance. I love him as this character because he doesn't play the typical private investigator, but there is a little bit of the typical private investigator in the character. A really underrated movie that I watched actually for the first time this last year. I watched it in anticipation of this coming out because I saw the cover and I went, oh, that sounds interesting, and that cover looks intriguing. So it was airing on TCM, so I watched it on there. And it turned out to be a really fabulous movie, and so glad to add it to the collection. If you've never seen Night Moves, definitely check it out. It's a really great Gene Hackman performance, and it's only 100 minutes, so it's a breezy watch, unlike the previous Barry Lyndon, which is clocking in at over 3 hours. After that, we've got a film called Sorcerer. This is by William Friedkin, and it stars Roy Scheider, and this is actually, I think, another really recently released Criterion. And I feel kind of bad because some of these, this one in particular, and I guess kind of Night Moves, they jumped over ones that have been on the purchase list of Criterion for a while. And this one I had never seen before I got this Criterion, but the plot just sounded so interesting. Over the last year, I've really gotten obsessed with William Friedkin's filmography, watching everything from Bug to Live and Die in LA and Killer Joe. I've just really loved all these films, and this was one that once I found out it was a William Friedkin film, it was coming to 4K, I had to jump on it. Very simple story. When you think about it, these I don't want to say criminals, but let's just say criminals, just to say criminals. They're hiding out and pretty much nowhere. I think it's somewhere is it South America? But they're in desperate need of cash and to stay away from the United States authorities or any respective government authorities. And so they decide to take this job of transporting highly corrosive dynamite that at the slightest bump could explode. And they're trekking through just jungle that is just ravaging roads, if you can call them that. Very suspenseful film, and a very good film. And I very much so enjoy this. It's a great 4K transfer, and not much more to say than that. Very underrated William Friedkin movie, that's for sure. But most of his films are. So if you haven't seen this one, it's another solid film to check out. Great thriller, and very well made too. And then we've got Devil in a Blue Dress. This is a Denzel Washington film, or stars Denzel Washington, but it's a Carl Franklin film. Another noir film, but this one is taking place in the classic noir age of the 1940s with Denzel playing our detective. And I really like this movie. I like all these kinds of... noir is one of my favorite genres, and it always has been. And so I like different iterations of the genre, different interpretations of how it's reflective of different aspects of society, especially in the 1940s. This is a really great Denzel performance. I wish, when I first watched this movie, I had hoped that this was a series that had a couple more like mysteries that Denzel solved as Easy Rollins. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Because it kind of felt like a movie that would have like a little mini series of like 3 or so where he's investigating different things or finds himself entrapped in different things. Maybe in another lifetime, but this is a really solid film that's really well made. I love the style of it. I love Denzel's performance, probably one of my favorite of his movies. And just really glad to have this one because I've been putting this one off for a while too, and I said, you know what, enough putting it off, because every now and again I feel like going into the noir, and I like something that adds something a little bit different, a little bit new, and kind of frames the genre in a different style. And Devil in a Blue Dress is definitely one of the ones that pays homage to all the things that we expect in it, but takes it in a new way and kind of lights it a little bit differently, so it's not the exact same thing. It plays with the tropes, but plays also into the tropes, which is a really solid movie on all fronts. And so again, I had to of course add it to the collection. Another new addition is a classic that I'm sure you'll all be familiar with. Whether or not you've all seen it or not, it's another question, but it's Citizen Kane. It's Orson Welles' masterpiece. This is the heavy-duty, like 4-disc set or whatever it ends up being, 3-disc set, 4K. I've heard things about the 4K transfer that it's not that much better than the Blu-ray, but I'd rather have it than not. I'm a huge Orson Welles fan. If you guys have seen previous videos on the channel, with The Third Man, and I've referenced A Touch of Evil or The Stranger, Lady from Shanghai. I really like Orson Welles, and I know he's kind of like a name film buffs throw out to kind of seem more sophisticated and into cinema than they may very well be. But I love Orson Welles. I resonate a lot with his story. He was very much so a prodigy. He made this when he was like 25 years old. And it's, you know, a lot of people talk about it being the greatest movie of all time, and a lot of people watch it and go, this is the movie that everyone says is the greatest of all time. And I too, you know, watched it and said, I wouldn't put this in the greatest of all time list. It's not even my favorite Orson Welles film. Probably not. I probably prefer The Stranger and Touch of Evil. Maybe even The Trial over Citizen Kane. But I can see why this movie is often dubbed as being the greatest of all time, because of some of the things that it does with the camera and the blocking and the lighting and the technology created specifically for this movie, with the lens, making sure that everything was in focus, which had never been done before. And then the story, it's not some unique story. In fact, the newspaper magnate that it is loosely based off of tried to get this movie blocked and censored and shut down. So by no means is it anything, crazy or new. Even itself is semi-based on a true story. But it is a fantastic film, and I think if you're hesitant to watch a black and white movie or a movie that you've heard is boring, I think you should at least try to watch Citizen Kane at least one time, because they don't just call it a masterpiece for no reason. It's not dubbed the greatest movie of all time in so many people's lists just to be snobbish. It truly is a masterpiece, and you just have to recognize that in its own light. It might not be your favorite movie ever, but you got to think about what it did for cinema, what it meant at the time, how it changed the industry. Those are things that resonate. Those are things that make something memorable and impactful, not, that it made a, it's important to make a lot of money. It's important to be a well-liked movie, but you also got to give credit to the movies that change things. Because do you have Avengers Endgame if Citizen Kane doesn't exist? It might seem weird to draw that line because this can be further from Endgame, but it is something to legitimately think about. Trudging along, we've got Les Samurai. This is a French film with Alain Delon. I can't do the French accents, okay? And this is a Jean-Pierre Melville film, an iconic French director. Again, over the past year, I've watched a lot of Alain Delon's films. Alain Delon. I know I'm butchering that somehow. As well as Melville, I've watched a lot of their films, both working together and individually. And I don't know, there's just something about the style, the way Delon looks is very striking, very memorable. And this film in particular is probably each of theirs most famous, at least among the film buff group or what have you. Well, this isn't probably my favorite Alain Delon film. I really like The Swimming Pool. And there's another one that I like that is escaping me right now. But it's where he's... let's not get into it. We're talking about Les Samurai. But I really do like Les Samurai. I kind of felt like watching it again. And so sometimes that influences my purchases. If I'm like, oh, I feel like watching that right now. Then I'll be like, okay, well then get it. This is the 4K release, obviously. All these thus far have been the 4K. And this is just a really interesting film. Alain Delon is a hitman, and basically in typical hitman starring movie fashion, they try to close the loop on him, essentially, to use looper terms. And it's a great film of suspense, of drama. It's a really solid thriller, and just very visually striking and interesting. A very enjoyable movie. Again, if you're kind of like, oh, that's like the film buff movie, oh, that's the foreign film that you say that no one ever actually has really seen, but you just say to sound fancy or whatever. Again, it's not people trying to be pretentious or make themselves seem important. It's just legitimately a good movie that you should give a watch, because it's probably influenced some movie that you've seen and you just don't realize. Very striking visually. I think you can tell that just by the cover. Alain Delon is very powerful as this kind of stoic, that's a good word to use, as a stoic hitman. That I think is, again, another aspect of being influential to other films that you probably don't realize. But a very solid film nonetheless, that I'm very happy again to add to the collection. And keeping with the foreign films, we've got a film called Chungking Express. I watched this for the first time again within the last year, in anticipation again for the 4K. Whenever I see a Criterion 4K coming out, if the cover or the plot seems intriguing, I like to seek that movie out just to know that whether or not when the next 4K sale comes around, or the next Criterion sale rather comes around, if it should be on my list or not. And I watched it and I was absolutely blown away by this film. It's basically a love story told in halves of different individuals. There's two people in the beginning, and then we move about 45 minutes or so into the movie to another couple. And they don't have any correlation with each other really, just very loose connections at the Chungking Express. And this is a fantastic movie. Then we've got Anora. This is the Sean Baker film that just came out. This is the 4K again, of course. Criterion release. Sean Baker just won like 4 Oscars for it. Mikey Madison won the Best Actress for it. And I just watched it for the first time actually the other night after picking this up. And I enjoyed the film. I think I can understand where some people were kind of not totally blown away by it. But I like Sean Baker, especially the Florida Project, which I absolutely love. And this film, I think it did drag on a little bit too long. It's like 2 hours and it's like 2 hours and 17 minutes without the credits. And I thought that was just a little too long, especially for like the plot. Didn't feel like that movie needed that long of a runtime. I feel like some scenes could have been trimmed or outright cut, but for the most part I enjoyed it, and Mikey Madison definitely ate up every scene that she was in. So Anora, I've been meaning to get this one for a while, glad to add it to the collection. And last but not least, we have The Ice Storm. This is the only Blu-ray that I got because this film, through the Criterion collection, is only available on Blu-ray. This was a 2K digital film transfer, so there isn't a 4K in the vault that they can immediately go get, which made me feel a little bit better about buying the Blu-ray because I have a couple Criterions that are the Blu-rays that have been upgraded to 4K that I'm kind of like, oh god. And so I don't like buying Blu-rays because you never know which one, they're not going to re-release every Blu-ray that they have onto 4K, but I think every single Blu-ray that I have, with the exception of 1 or 2, have gone 4K upgrades. So I'm kind of sick of that happening. So I like to buy the 4Ks, but this one I felt, unless I really want the film, like there's a couple that I really want that are only on Blu-ray that I think I'm just going to end up getting, and whatever happens, happens. Who cares? And now that I say this, of course, the Ice Storm will get a 4K. But I really like the Ice Storm. In one of my college classes, Logic, there was a day that I got canceled because there was an ice storm. And the instructor told us that there wasn't any class, to just like practice on the worksheets and to watch the ice storm. And respecting this professor's film knowledge, and with a deep Ang Lee cut like this, I said, you know what? I'm going to take you up on that offer. I'm going to find the Ice Storm and I'm going to watch it. And watch it I did, and love it I did. This is a fabulous movie. I feel like I've been saying fabulous a lot. This is a fantastic movie. I love this movie. I really do. The minute this movie ended, I went, that it was a great movie. I love that movie. Now, it's not for everybody. It does hit kind of hard in some aspects. And it's kind of about the deterioration of families, these two families in the upper middle class. And that might be hard for some people to watch. It's like one of those movies where characters keep making the worst choice that they can make, and you just keep going like, why are you doing this to yourself? But I love this movie for that. It has a great, very young Tobey Maguire performance. And I say very young, but he's probably like 20 years old in this movie. Probably even like older than that. He's probably like 22, which I guess is kind of young. But am I kidding? Who am I kidding? I act like I'm... You have to forgive me, okay? I don't want another old man tangent like I did a couple videos ago. So we're just gonna keep it short. Ice Storm is a great movie. So I've been meaning to pick this one up for a while, and I figured now's the perfect time to do it. Because there's a lot of, like I said, there's a couple Blu-ray Criterions that I've been on the fence about, and I think within the next few sales, I like dip my toe a little bit into it, and pull it out. I don't even know where I'm going with this. So these are the Criterions that I picked up over this last Criterion sale. Let me just take a quick drink. It kind of tastes like candle wax, but I kind of like it. It kind of also tastes like perfume. So guys, those were the movies that I picked up over this last Criterion Barnes & Noble sale. And like I said, I'll probably be done now. I feel like this was a solid pick. I don't want to go overboard, even though some could argue that I already did. But I already know which ones will be on the list come November to be picked up. And I think all us Criterion fans, physical media fans, Blu-ray collectors are counting down the days carefully on a calendar for that sale to begin. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you picked up any Criterions 50% off at Barnes & Noble and Amazon and whoever else matched the sale. Let me know what you picked up. Let me know what you think of my pickups and which ones you've seen, what's your opinions on them. Like, comment, subscribe, do what you gotta do, but make sure that you're here next time so I can see you in my parents' basement, your parents' basement, our parents' basement.